21, there's a story. I'm not going to recount the whole story. You read it. But it's essentially this. A man by the name of Naboth had a vineyard. Think of a vineyard. Think of Jesus said, I'm the vine, ye are the branches. Well, that would be the vineyard. Okay, that would be Christ and His church, His people. Okay, so the vineyard is an inheritance, by the way. You see, this land that Naboth had, he didn't buy it. He didn't get it off eBay. He didn't go to a government auction, a foreclosure. He inherited it from his father, who inherited it from his father, who got it from his father, and from his father, who eventually, it goes all the way back to the time when Joshua and the Israelites went into the promised land and God said, here's your land, I'm going to give it to you. Don't sell it, don't give it away, pass it down to your offspring. And so Naboth was one of those who was received this inheritance, this wonderful gift Naboth received, and Ahab wanted it. It was a vineyard right next to the palace of Ahab, and Ahab's looking at that. See, it's covetousness. He's looking at that and going, boy, I want that piece of land. That'd look nice. I'm going to do this. I'm going to put some landscaping there. I'm going to make it look real nice. And he wants it. And so he asked Naboth, he said, how about trading me? I got some real nice land over yonder I'll let you have if you'll let me have this vineyard. Or I'll give you some money for it. Think of harlots. What do they get out of it? But anyway, I'll give you some money for it, Naboth. And Naboth said, Ahab, I mean, you know the law. I can't sell my vineyard. One of these days I'm going to have a son, and I'm going to pass that down to him. It's going to be his, and so I'm going to work it, and I'm going to live off of it, and I'm going to give it to my son, so he'll have the same thing that I had. Maybe he'll make it better. Naboth pouted and he cried, and I can't have it. Jezebel comes in. Jezebel, by the way, I want you to listen to this now. Jezebel hates the law. She hates what God said. She despises it. So Jezebel comes in, wants to know what's wrong with Ahab. Ahab says, you won't give me the vineyard. And look at what Jezebel said. 1 Kings chapter 21, verse 7. Jezebel, his wife, said unto him, dost thou now govern the kingdom of Israel? Arise and eat bread. And let thine heart be merry. I will give thee the vineyard of Naboth the Jezreelite. I want you to, let's put on our conspiracy glasses for a minute. Isaiah chapter 14, Lucifer says, I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation, ruling over the congregation of God. The devil now, being in charge of the churches. He wants that. He wants the vineyard. How is he going to get it? Jezebel. She's going to use her whoredoms, and she's going to use her witchcraft. And there's going to be a transfer of authority of the church from here to here. That's who she is. That's what she's that's what she's doing right now. And so it's no marvel to me when I see a void of the Scriptures, and I mean the true, incorruptible Scriptures. When I see a void of this in the church, I know who's fixing to be in charge. And I know how it's working, and I know who's doing it. So let's begin with some things to me are obvious. Now, I would not be caught dead when I was a child sitting at home. I don't think my mom, she knew I had comics. I don't think she knew about this one. I wouldn't be caught dead sitting there in my home reading The Son of Satan in my home. My mom would have said, you get that out of here. That's you're not having that. And so anyway, a long time ago, you just couldn't say, well, there's witchcraft in the church. But now there is. And some things to me are obvious that for some reason, well, I know the reason, but something's going on. And now churches, it's like they're crazy. They're crazy because they're actually using the occult to teach Jesus. Now remember, this guy here, the son of Satan, is not just a comic book character. He's called the child of the devil in Acts chapter 13, son of Belial, son of perdition is what he's called. He's a real character out of the Bible. He really exists. He's really going to try to take over and reign on planet Earth. Okay? And so they're using the themes of a cult to teach about another Jesus. That's who this is here. We have things like the Harry Potter Bible study. Enjoying God through the final 4 Harry Potter movies. Well, here's the final 4 Harry Potter movies. Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. Let's stop right here. You know what the phoenix is? It's a mythical bird, like a spirit, that rises up out of the flames of hell and is reborn. You know what that is? According to the Bible, that's the Antichrist. They're going to say that we're going to tell you who God is by the Order of the Phoenix, the half-blood prince. You know what Harry Potter is? He's a hybrid. His father was from a genetic line of wizards. You know who that is? That's God's. And his mother was a human. He's a hybrid. He is the half-blood prince. Deathly Hallows. They're going to try to tell you that Harry Potter can show you the way to Jesus Christ. I promise you, it won't be this one. It'll be this one right here. Here's another one. The Gospel according to Harry Potter. Now, also remember this now. Harry Potter is the guy who's got a lightning bolt mark on his forehead. That's not the real Jesus, by the way. That's this guy right here. Tyndale House Publishers. Tyndale. Okay? That great repository of Christian literature published a book, Looking for God in Harry Potter. Then it moves on down to something, and I've never read any of the Harry Potter books. These I've read. So I know what I'm talking about here when we get into The Hobbit. That was the first one I read. And because a cartoon came out in the late 70s, I can't remember who made it. I think Rankin Bass or something like that. They made this cartoon called The Hobbit, and I watched it. And I'm going, wow. And I read the book, and I was fascinated by this book and this ring that makes you disappear and all kinds of weird things that float through my head. Well, I'd like to have that ring. And then I read The Lord of the Rings. I found out what the ring was part of, and then I found out that Tolkien, J.R.R. Tolkien, actually got all these ideas from The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit from myth, from actual European, Scandinavian, Nordic, Greek, Roman. He got them from mythology, and mythology is all about the son of Satan, a child of the gods. So that's where he got it from. So we have a character called Gandalf the Grey, and Gandalf the Grey is a wizard. Now, here it is, the Gospel according to Tolkien, and here's another one here. Finding God in the Lord of the Rings. See, it's not the right God. It's not the God of the Bible. And I'll show you why I say that here in a little bit. It's going to be this one right here. They're going to lead you astray. Jezebel is going to transfer the authority of the vineyard over to Ahab, over to the devil. How's she going to do it? Through the Gospel according to Tolkien, through finding God in the Lord of the Rings. See, Gandalf the Grey is a wizard. Whether you hear what it's like Harry Potter is, okay? And Gandalf the Grey fights a battle, and he's thrust into the underworld, and he dies. But he's resurrected. And now he's no longer Gandalf the Grey. He's Gandalf the White Wizard. And he rides a white horse. And I think it was Shadowfax. And he is the conquering hero now. And everybody says, ooh, Jesus. It's not really Jesus. You even have books called The Gospel according to Twilight, Women, Sex, and God. Notice there's an apple with a bite out of it. Yeah, that just stinks of Genesis chapter 3. Here's another one. Parables from Twilight. A Bible study. You know what Twilight is, don't you? It's werewolves, people who are transformed into a beast. Vampires, people that are dead. That's what vampires are. And they do what God said not to do, and that is drink blood. You're not supposed to do that, but they do. And there's a love affair, and it's romantic, and teenage girls are going, she loves him so much. God said not to have anything to do with it. Leviticus chapter 19, verse 31. Here's what God said now. God said this. Regard not them that have familiar spirits, neither seek after wizards to be defiled by them. I am the Lord your God. God said that this stuff is not going to lead you to the real Jesus. It's actually going to defile you. Think of defiling and think of whoredoms. They kind of go together. Okay? Leviticus 20 verse 6, and the soul that turneth after such as have familiar spirits and after wizards to go, look at this, to go a-whoring after them. Stop right here. Did you see that? God actually, again, puts wizardry, wizardry and Wicca, remember they're from the same root word, wist or wise, wizardry and whoring together in the same. God said you go after wizards to go a-whoring after wizards. Look what God said. I will even set my face against that soul and will cut him off from among his people. Listen, it's going to work. It's going to work. God says when my people start chasing after Harry and Gandalf and Twilight and vampires and werewolves, when my people go seeking after them, werewolves have familiar spirits, by the way. When my people go seeking after them, I'll cut them off. They're not my church anymore. And so Jezebel says, don't worry, Ahab, I'll get them for you. And Ahab now conquers and rules over the people because of their own iniquity that God cut off. See, it works, doesn't it? Deuteronomy chapter 18, verse 11. Here's what God said don't do. You don't follow after a charmer. Think of charmed. We're going to get to that in a minute. A charmer or a consulter with familiar spirits or a wizard or a necromancer. You know what a necromancer is? Okay, one that has contact with the dead. What are vampires? They're dead. Verse 12, for all that do these things are an abomination unto the Lord. See, that doesn't sound like Amazing Grace, how sweet the sound, does it? All these that are an abomination unto the Lord, and because of these abominations, the Lord thy God doth drive them out from before thee. God said the land that you're going into is full of charmers and wizards and familiar spirits and necromancers. And God said, I'm going to kick them out and I'm going to put them in your place. So don't do what they did or I'll kick you out too. That's what God said. So you have to understand and realize that the studies based upon things that are of the occult world, those studies and those ideas and those principles being brought into vacation Bible schools and Sunday school rooms and Bible studies and even coming out of the pulpits, coming out of so-called Christian musicians who put on their website, yeah, my favorite book, man, was like Charmed. My favorite book was Twilight. My favorite movie was Lord of the Rings. They're bringing that into the church. And God said, you know what? If you follow after that stuff, I can't help you. And Jezebel is moving in, and she is causing people. No one is being forced to worship the dragon. No one is. They're making a choice, and Jezebel is the agent of that choice. That verse mentions that you're not supposed to follow charmers. TV show called Charmed. It has 3 witches in it, and their symbol is the Triquetra. That's a magic symbol. It's not a Christian symbol.